In the shadow of the United States Capitol building lies a memorial that is very different from the others. Although it is one of many rooted in the conflict of war, rather than recognizing those who gave their lives in the service of our country, it honors those who survived and were forced to fight new battles. In this series, we will explore the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial. It tells a powerful story on its walls and provides a space of quiet remembrance at its reflecting pool and eternal flame, one of only a few in the area. In war, there are no unwounded soldiers. Hey guys, welcome back to Vigoroso DC, and right now we are at the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial, and we are actually pretty close to the Capitol building. And this is a memorial that opened up relatively recently, back in 2014, although the plans for it began a bit earlier, back in 1995. But this memorial is dedicated to all who became disabled from the very beginning of our country, back to the Revolutionary War, up until the present day. And there are quotes from veterans on the walls here and quotes from presidents. And it's just a very powerful memorial overall. And I'm going to show it to you now. So right behind me, right there is the largest part of the memorial and pretty much the centerpiece. And this is a reflecting pool. Let's take a closer look at it. As you can see, there is a big reflection of the surrounding area, especially of the trees and clouds. The Capitol building is supposed to reflect here, except it's really hard to see. In fact, you can't see the Capitol building from this angle. And on the other side of the memorial, you can see the very top of it sticking out, the Statue of Freedom. But it's really doesn't work well with reflecting in this reflecting pool. And the reflecting pool itself is not deep at all. Look at this. It's like maybe half an inch deep. It basically just covers the surface of the rock and spills over to the side, right over here. And I'm going to show you now what's there at the very top. So that is the northern end of the memorial. So here we have a five-sided star, and in the very middle is an eternal flame. And there are not many eternal flames in this area. There's one at President John F. Kennedy's grave at Arlington Cemetery, and there's another at the Holocaust Museum, and there's this one, but really there are not many at all. And at each corner of the star is a seal of a different branch of the U.S. military. So right here we see Department of the Air Force. And all the way in the back there, behind the reflecting pool, you can see some more features of the memorial. There are 3 glass walls back there that have quotes inscribed from disabled veterans. And there is a grove of memorial trees behind that. And we will go check that out a little bit later. Department of the Army. Department of the Navy. United States Coast Guard. Now, both the reflecting pool and the fountain here, they are made of a type of black granite. But something interesting is that the walls of remembrance here, they're made of concrete, but on the outside, this is a form of white granite. And that's something you usually don't see. Usually when you see white that looks like this, it's marble. There is tons of marble in this city and metro area, but not so much white granite. But the covering here is white granite. And these are the walls of remembrance. And here it says American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial. And to the left, we have a quote from President George Washington, of course, our first president. And on the right, there is a quote from President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was our president for most of the 1950s, but was the main general during World War II for the war in Europe. And I will read you each of these quotes. We'll go in order and start with President Washington. Okay, and this says, before I conclude the subject of public justice, I cannot omit to mention the obligations this country is under to that meritorious class of veteran non-commissioned officers and privates who have been discharged for inability. Nothing could be a more melancholy and distressing sight than to behold those who have shed their blood or lost their limbs in the service of their country. And you can see the terminology has changed over the years. Here is George Washington called it inability. These days you hear disability. And it may change again. That's kind of just how language is in general. Language is always changing. And here we have President Eisenhower's quote. And this quote speaks directly to the disabled veterans. And he said, "Each of you bears upon his body the permanent, honorable scars of dangerous service, service rendered in order that our great nation might continue to live according to the expressed will of its own citizens."